Vertibirds and destruction. Today, I try to beat Fallout 4 as an Enclave soldier. Now, why am I doing Enclave soldier? Well, I was going to do Courser, but I realized the storyline is basically the exact same as the Railroad, so I didn't want to just redo the entire, storyline again. So I decided to do Enclave since it's going to be a new storyline, and also, I've never played it, so I think it's going to be fun. But the rules for this challenge are simple. Number 1, I can only use energy weapons like laser rifles, plasma rifles, stuff like that. And number 2, I can only use Enclave armor sets like XO1 or the Enclave armor. And number 3, I need to beat the game with the Enclave storyline. So with that being said, let's get into it. I started off by dropping my armor in Vault 111, then I hopped onto the little platform, and then I put in my stats. I wanted just some charisma, endurance, luck, a little bit of everything. I then went to the government facility where the Enclave inhabitants were located. Once inside, I saw that there were raiders, so I said, you know what? I need to go get a laser weapon. So I first went to Concord to grab a bunch of fusion cells and just some stim packs from all the dead Minutemen that were there. Then I headed over to the Cambridge police station where there was a laser rifle. I learned this from my Brotherhood Soldier video. So I grabbed the laser rifle and I was able to make my way through the entire catacombs of the Vault 111 facility. There were many raiders there, but luckily with the laser rifle I was able to make it through pretty easily, also getting me a level up which I was able to put into Rifleman, getting me more damage with the laser rifle already. So after that, I made my way through the facility, shooting all of the raiders. Pretty simple. So after that was all done, I plugged in my Pip-Boy and I hit the button and I opened up the vault to the government Vault 111. So once I was inside, I initiated the release, of course, because if I terminated it, well, that's just the end of the run. So I spoke to the general of the Enclave that came out of the pod, and also grabbed my military-issued Vault 111 suit, which is my first piece of actual armor I'm going to be able to wear. So after getting that, I spoke to the general. I also leveled up, getting me another point, which I decided to put into Medic for more healing, of course. Then I headed to my first mission, which was at a array terminal. And for some reason, there was just a random trader outside of this. I don't know why. But once inside, I spoke to one of the soldiers there, and he told me, hey, we gotta make our way through. So I shoot a raider in. Yeah, there's a tripwire with a rocket launcher that I didn't see for 2 times that I went through. But after getting through, I finally found out where this tripwire was and actually disabled it like I should have. So after doing that, I made my way through and got into a big fight with a bunch of raiders, which luckily I was able to kill with almost no issue. They were pretty easy. Gun bashing and shooting was pretty simple to do. Then I leveled up, getting me another point, which I decided to put into toughness for the extra DR that it provides. So after this was all done in this area, I made my way out where I was making my way to another facility. But there was a sentry bot outside, and I tried to, you know what, I'm just gonna go in. But after I went in, no, he just, he killed me multiple times. So I even just tried to use Jet with my laser rifle to try and kill him. But I was going to run out of ammo by then, so that was a no-go. So I just tried to crouch up, and he even caught me still. But after hiding behind this car, I was like, you know what, maybe he can, not get me. And yeah, he gets stuck. So since he's stuck, I decided to get the other soldier to just shoot him. And that worked for a while, but then he got through the car. And so I was like, you know what, maybe since I'm far away, he forgot I'm here, so I'm gonna try to run in. And then I saw he was coming straight for me. So I made my way straight into the door, where I was able to finally escape him and just get the mission. So I spoke to the other soldier, and basically he said, hey, we gotta align to get power sent to the vault. So I looked for everything. I found a key, which I was able to use to get to the top to align the relay. But I saw the sentry bot and I was like, you know what, he can't get up here, right? So, I'm just aligning the relay like usual. And then I get to this little puzzle that I have to do. It's pretty simple, right? But while I'm doing this puzzle, I just see the sentry bot just comes straight in and gets on top of this little railing. And so I actually have to kill him here, which luckily I was able to do, actually getting me like a couple materials which I was able to use later. So that was good. So after this was all done, I just made sure to basically finish up the puzzle. So after that was finished, I went over to the SATCOM relay and I was able to actually align everything that I needed. And then I went inside and I diverted power to the Vault 111 government facility. So then something happened. I talked to the captain and he told me that there was going to be a raid on the facility. I died the first time, but then after that, I then decided to actually activate the turrets, which were able to take apart every single raider. Like, they destroyed the raiders, and along with my laser rifle and a few chems, I just ran through and was able to mostly kill all of the raiders, but I did run out of a lot of fusion cells, so I needed to get more. But I just decided to go back to the vault and talk to the general, where I was able to get the Lone Wanderer perk. I then went over to Diamond City just to get a few locations unlocked, so I headed over to Arturo to also trade a bit, because I thought he had fusion cells, but he just didn't have any in stock. So I went over to my next mission, which was at the Vertibird refueling facility. But once inside, there were a bunch of gunners, and I had like 2 bullets, so I thought, okay, I can just gun bash with my laser rifle, but these guys were very, very difficult, so it was really hard to actually just gun bash my way through. So after I ran through the facility for the first time, I had died, and on the next attempt, I just decided to run through without wasting any of the bullets I had and use my final 2 bullets to kill the gunner with the laser pistol, because I could pick it up and I would get some fusion cells. So with those fusion cells, I was able to make my way through the rest of the facility and get even more fusion cells from the rest of the gunners that actually did use laser weapons. I also leveled up, which got me a point into Scrounger, because I realized I needed at least a little bit of ammo. So I made my way through the rest of the facility, where I killed the rest of the gunners pretty easily, and yeah, everything was good. And after that was all settled, I went back to the general and told him, hey, everything's good at the Vertibird refueling facility. So I met him there and we just talked, and basically we now have to go to the Enclave oil rig, but I had to wait a full day before then. Then I went back to him and told him, you know what, I'm ready, let's go to the oil rig. So I hop onto the Vertibird to make my way to the oil rig. So once the Vertibird got started up, I headed to the oil rig and we flew in. So once we were actually like on the oil rig, there were a lot of feral ghouls, and I didn't want to waste all my ammo, so I decided to conserve some ammo. But then I met the colonel of the Enclave at the oil rig, which was still there. So we spoke to her and then headed through the oil rig and made my way to the military ops room. So once inside, we spoke to the colonel, and basically we spoke about how to restore the Enclave oil rig. So I spoke and she said, first I gotta clear out all the rooms and end the lockdown. So I made my way to the first terminal and overrided the lockdown. Then I made my way to the science department, where there were more feral ghouls that I was able to kill, and then I ended the lockdown there. So after that lockdown was ended, I headed to the last terminal, which was pretty easy to get to, and then I went back to the colonel, and now I had to go through the reactor. So I also leveled up picking the Scrounger perk, and once I was inside the reactor, I had to find a bunch of like agitators, dampening coils, all these like reactor components, and I had to turn on both these reactors. There were also many feral ghouls in there, so I just basically tried to gun bash to conserve ammo while I was inside, because I only had 18 fusion cells in here. So I just installed all the agitators, all the dampening coils, and I killed a few of the feral ghouls. And then once this next part happened, where it said fight off the feral ghouls, I decided to just try and hide in one of the like corners, and it worked. I then basically was all good there, and I talked to the general and the captain, and basically I have to head to this boat and I have to divert it towards the oil rig. So I made my way on the Vertibird, and then with the minigun I shot the Mirelurk Queen, and I died because it shot at me. So later, when I reloaded the save, I just used the Vertibird minigun to shoot the Mirelurk Queen and the rest of these Mirelurks that were just trying to kill me. So this Vertibird minigun was very good. I also leveled up, which I put another point to Bloody Mess just to get some extra damage. I then made my way through the ship, and I used the Vertibird minigun again by hopping back on it, and I just killed the rest of the Mirelurks. Then I made my way inside, where there was another Mirelurk, but yeah, I didn't have much ammo at this point with my laser rifle, so I didn't kill him. I then found these Enclave remnants inside. I spoke to them, but they were ghouls at this point, so yeah. I told the captain and I told him we have to kill the ghouls because, I mean, we're the Enclave, so we went inside and I tried to shoot the fusion core because the fusion core, if I shoot it enough, he will get auto ejected from the power armor, which is probably the only way I'm going to be able to kill him. So luckily, I was able to shoot the fusion core and get that ejected. So after he was walking slow for a bit, he hopped out of his power armor, which I was able to finally kill him, which it was pretty easy because, I mean, a guy without power armor is going to be way easier to kill. So I decided to take his power armor because, I mean, it's XO1, so I can use it. I then diverted the ship all the way to the oil rig, finally completing this. So I told the general, everything's good, and he said, great work. And basically, I had to head over and just repair some more things for him. Pretty simple, standard tasks, and so I headed back to the general, and he said, alright, great work, great work. And basically, I got another weapon called the Purifier, which is a great Enclave weapon, and it does some good damage. So, I spoke to the colonel, and at this point, I went back to Arturo, which I was able to actually get more fusion cells, which I wasn't able to get earlier because, for some reason, Arturo just does not have them in stock. So I then used the power armor crafting station, then I made my way to my next mission where I killed a raider first, and I also had to rescue some Enclave remnants. So I leveled up getting the rifleman perk, and then I killed the leader of the raiders here, and I then met the Enclave remnant, which I said, hey, I'm here to help. They told me where the rest of the remnants were, so we headed out of this little like subway area and headed out to the Commonwealth, and I talked to the colonel, and basically we headed into this bunker where a bunch of Enclave remnants were. So we met the chief engineer of the Enclave here in this bunker. So after basically speaking to him and also grabbing another fusion core because I always need them, so I grabbed all that, headed back to the general, and basically said, hey, we got a bunch of stuff and we got more people. So he said, great work. But here's where things kind of change. You see, I have to actually beat like part of the main story. So I basically first went to the general and did all that. Then I actually had to go find Nick Valentine and then just do part of the main story. So I'm not going to bore you with it. I killed Dino and I made my way through the entirety of Park Street Station pretty easily. I then met Nick Valentine, grabbed the speech bobblehead, of course, spoke to him, and he told me, hey, we gotta get outside of the vault and all this. I said, okay. I then went over and killed Skinny Malone, and I talked to Nick outside, completing that, leveling me up, getting me another point into the Bloody Mess perk. I then spoke to him and described everything. I then went over to grab Kellogg's key, and after grabbing Kellogg's key, we went inside of Kellogg's house and basically just rummaged through everything to look for Kellogg. I then went over to Kellogg's fort, and then once inside the fort, I basically just went up to Kellogg and then just shot him. Pretty easy. I just ran up, killed him. All simple. So that was the end of the main story after seeing the Pridwin enter. So basically, I'm going to get back onto the Enclave route now. So I went back to the Enclave oil rig and spoke to the engineer and all that. And basically, I just had to do a little like mission, you know, flip a couple circuit breakers, turn on everything. And also, there was multiple suits of power armor here, so I was able to get a lot of fusion cells. After this, I basically then just repaired everything for the engineer, and then he told me to go speak with the general. So I spoke with the general, and we headed to the science department. So I went to the science department, did all that. I then went out and killed a Yaoguai, and also I leveled up, decided to put a point into Life Giver, and then I headed to the next place where I had to get samples for the lab. So, once inside, I killed a bunch of raiders and also met the BOS here. I started off by shooting at the BOS, of course, and I was able to kill them, and it was a pretty tough fight. I used a lot of stim packs because their laser weapons did a lot of damage, but luckily, I was able to get a lot of fusion cells, of course, and I then grabbed the automated analyzer from them. After that, I just made my way to kill some gunners and grab the thing that they were guarding, and then I went back to the captain, and along with a couple other Enclave soldiers, they shot a fat man, which I died from. And then the second time, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna back up a bit. So after they shot the Fat Man again and blew up the door, we had to make our way through, killing a couple super mutants, and down an elevator where there was a massive room just filled with super mutants. Like, I'm talking everywhere in this room there were super mutants. Then, after killing some super mutants, a behemoth came out, and I just ran away, and basically, we killed the behemoth, but he killed a couple Enclave soldiers, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna grab the plasma cartridges, you know, all that. So I was able to actually get a couple plasma weapons there, but I also got the FEV2 sample from here. I don't know why super mutants would have an FEV2 sample, but for some reason, they do. So I went back to the science department and handed over the scientist, Dr. Kane, everything, and I also leveled up, decided to put another point into Life Giver. I then spoke to Dr. Kane. She told me we needed a few live specimens, so I went out and grabbed a couple of things, like a feral ghoul first. And then after grabbing the feral ghoul, we have to mark it as a mutated creature, because we need like 3 things. I then had to go to Vault 81 and grab a Vault Dweller. Then I went out to the last area where a bunch of raiders were, and then just got my last subject that we needed. And then I headed back to Dr. Kane, reported, hey, we got everything we needed. She said, great, good, and then it completed that quest. So after this, I headed back to the captain. I just talked with him, and basically, I grabbed his side quest, which I never ended up doing. So I went back to the general, and we had to breach this compound back at the original, like, site or communication site that we were at. So there were a bunch of Fury Company recruits here, and I didn't think much of it, you know, just random mercenaries. But when I was looting them, they had synth components. So, you know, why are there synths here? I don't know. Hopefully we'd find out. So I went through shooting a bunch of the Fury Company members. It was pretty easy. So I was able to level up, getting me another point, which I decided to put into endurance just for more health because, yeah, they do still do a lot of damage. I then had to kill the captain of Fury Company here, and with that, we got the key, which allowed us to get into the HQ. Once inside, we met Vanessa, and the general came in, and he was all like, well, what's going on? What? Because he knew Vanessa because, I don't know, lore, like, Vanessa was his daughter. I don't know, lore. And then I talked to the general, and he said, I gotta go. And so the general headed out, and once we went outside, we just had to clear out the rest of the Fury Company, and then I talked to the colonel. The colonel's like, the general's missing. And so basically, we had to track his vertibird. Now, his vertibird was somewhere. It was basically in this, like, little estates, hills, this, like, neighborhood. So I went and found the general. He's like, you know, I used to live here before the war and all that. And so he's like, hey, find some notes or something that was left in this house. So I found a couple journal notes in the house that Vanessa had left. And after finding all of the journal notes, I was able to find the code to the safe. Now, with the code of the safe, I opened it up, and we found some documents, some scribbled documents, and I gave them to the general. He's like, huh, you know, she's a synth and all that. And yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone could guess that she was a synth since all of the other guys were synths. But after that, the Fury Company raided us, and we killed them pretty easily. Like, low-key, all the Enclave had, like, plasma gats, so we captured one of them. I also crafted myself some armor with the Enclave, like, production, and then after capturing this guy, we just hit him a few times with our laser rifle, and then watched the interrogation. After the interrogation, I spoke to the general, and he's like, we gotta get inside the Institute. And so I took some endurance points, and then I also had to go through even more, like, combat training before this. So I shot all of these targets, and we just made our way through this training, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to waste all of my plasma cells, so I switched over to the laser rifle because it is way less expensive than plasma, like, cartridges. Then a bunch of vertibirds arrives on the Enclave oil rig to reinforce us because the senator was arriving. So after the senator arrived, we went into this meeting room, and we just listened to a little boardroom meeting with the general. So basically during this meeting, we basically just said, hey, we gotta basically, you know, we gotta deal with the Institute. So after this meeting was done, we had to go through the main story again. So again, I'm gonna gloss over a lot of this because, I mean, it's seen a million times, so I just want to get back to the Enclave story. So we talk with Nick, we go to Good Neighbor, and then we learn about Institute teleportation, like always. So after learning about all this, we head to the Glowing Sea, and I was gonna see if these Enclave soldiers would attack me, and for some reason they did, so I went over to the original caravan, and yeah, they still attacked me. I don't know why. I don't think it's in this version of the mod that I was using, but I went to Virgil and I basically just learned about the teleportation, went through green tech genetics to kill all the gunners. I went up, I killed the Courser, like always, so after killing the Courser, I got the Courser chip, and then I kill the synth that is in the room nearby the Courser, and then I head to kill the railroad, because I needed to decode the Courser chip, obviously. So I go through the railroad, just killing every single member pretty easily, and then I just decode the Courser chip, of course. After decoding it, I head back to Virgil, and I tell him about the railroad and all that. So after speaking with Virgil, I head to the general and just talk to him, and he's like, "Good job, man. Now we gotta make it into the Institute." So I head to the engineer. He's like, "You know what? I have a great idea." So what we have to do is build a teleporter. I first build the reflector platform as always, then I head back to him to talk to him, then we have to build the beam emitter, the relay dish, and then lastly the control console. After everything is built, I then have to put power to everything, so I just get a few generators, and yeah, pretty simple. After getting all the generators connected, I go back to the general and tell him everything's good at the base. So after that's all good, I head back to the reflector platform and we beam ourselves into the Institute. So after we beam ourselves into the Institute, I basically just run around, do the usual. I head to the terminal and we do the network scan. I also complete 2 quests, Infiltration and also the molecular level, which allows me to level up getting another point rifleman. I then head to talk to Father, and basically I just speak to him as usual, and because of the Enclave storyline, it basically makes me go to talk to every single one of the leaders. So I head to Bioscience, and then I find this guy running through the halls, and he tells me about this thing called Phase 3, and I'm like, "Can you just hand me the document?" And so he just gives me it. And so then I go meet with Madison Lee after that, and then after talking to Madison Lee, I head to the next leader, which is the leader of synth retention, which is basically, you know, capturing escaped synths and all that. So after talking with the leader of synth retention, I head back to the Enclave oil rig, and I basically speak with the chief engineer and lay out what had happened after I gave him the network scanner. I then went to the Museum of Witchcraft because basically we got a little like relay, I think, basically telling us that Vanessa was at the power plant here, or the fish packing plant. So I then head inside and find the Courser there. I speak to him, but then after that, I basically just start shooting him to kill him because, you know, gotta kill the Institute as they're enemies of the Enclave. So I kill the Courser, and then I get attacked by all of the Fury Company officers. Now, the Fury Company was actually quite difficult, and I tried my best not to waste a lot of ammo on them, but with the plasma gun, it just takes so much ammo when I'm using it. So I did eventually kill them, and I took the elevator down, and I found even more of the soldiers down there. Now, the ones down here weren't too bad, but then the Vanessa boss fight was pretty hard. Basically, I just had to shoot her a bunch, and then she would teleport around, so it did cost quite a bit of stim packs, but luckily I was able to easily take her out with the Purifier, which is such an amazing weapon. So after I kill her, or, well, defeat her, she gets put on the ground here, where basically I just have to interrogate her, but while interrogating her, she just dies. So I head back to General Ward and tell him, "Hey, yeah, she died." And he's like, "Oh, man, good job, man, good job." So after that was all done, I headed to the Senator, and he gave me a weapon, which was amazing. It was an amazing plasma rifle. I then got a new suit of power armor. It was the actual, like, Enclave, fully painted power armor. So this armor was incredibly cool. Like, amazing. I don't think it was, like, crazy amounts better, but it just looked better. So then I had to go take over a, like, Brotherhood-controlled police station. So when I went over there were so many Brotherhood Knights. Like, I think almost everyone in the, like, station was a Brotherhood Knight. So once I went inside, I just used my new weapon, as well as the Purifier, because it's still a great weapon, to just clear out everything. I then met up with the captain, and basically I told him, "Hey, we got everything, what do we do now?" And he said, "Okay, we gotta radio it in, do all this and that." And so after everything is done there, I level up, taking a point in medic, and then I talk to the general. He's like, "Good job, you know, we gotta start looking at taking out the Brotherhood." but first we gotta make, you know, more FEV. So I head to this, like, hallucinogen factory where I found a hypersonic visualizer, but I got stopped by the colonel who said, you know what, the FEV, it's not a good idea. So she tried to stop me, and I said, you know what, don't try to stop me, you know, it's needed, because, you know, I'm loyal to the Enclave, so after she tried to shoot me, I had to kill her. And you know what? She had a lot of ammo. I reported it to the general, and he was like, I don't care. Literally, he just did not care. So I then talked to the captain, and we went up to our vertibird, and we had to fly to mass fusion. Now, mass fusion, this is honestly like the same as any playthrough, just a bit different, because both Brotherhood and the Institute are going to be at mass fusion now. So it's a little bit different, but mostly it's just the same, you know. I get the key card and the holotape. We just go into the company mail, do all that, look through everything. And so after doing all that, we head to the elevator, swipe the key card, you know. Same as usual for mass fusion, there's really no difference here. So after going down the elevator, I then just shoot at more synths who are coming around the sides, come through all the doors, basically just same as usual mass fusion once again. So I then switch on the power, and after switching on the power, we head to the reactor room, which since I'm in power armor, the reactor room really wasn't that bad this time. So I just grabbed the beryllium agitator, and then I head outside where a sentry bot is waiting there. But I mean, at this point, I have a crazy good like plasma gun, so the sentry bot was really no problem, as well as the assaultrons. I then leveled up, getting another point in the life giver, maxing out that perk, and then I just killed more synths on my way out, and yeah, mass fusion this time was really easy. So I then headed to the engineer, and I gave him the agitator, so we were able to upgrade our reactors at the oil rig, which was really big because it upgrades the entire oil rig, making it better. I then talked to the general, and he talks about how basically I have to go see Dr. Kane with him. So we head to Dr. Kane, and she talks about the tests with the FEV that we are doing. So basically, Dr. Kane just walks through, says, hey, this is what this is doing, you know, with the FEV that you got. So I just watched the demonstration and all that, and then she tells me, hey, this guy, he's a traitor to the Enclave, so here's what you gotta do. You have to basically use FEV on him. So yeah, we just used FEV to see if the guy will die, and you know what, he didn't die. So I then spoke with the general, and he told me the Brotherhood were raiding our other base. So I was like, what? And so basically, I went with the lieutenant, and what we did was we hopped on a vertibird, and we made our way towards the second base. So what we did then is once we were on the vertibird, I just made my way towards the base and looked for any signs of the Brotherhood that were in the area. So once I got to the area, I used the vertibird minigun to just clear out all of the Brotherhood Knights that were in the area. But once I got out of the vertibird, there were even more Brotherhood Knights just coming in on more and more vertibirds. But luckily, this plasma rifle that I had gotten was just amazing. I even leveled up, getting me another point, which I put in endurance. I then spoke with the general, and basically what had happened now is the Brotherhood is attacking a missile silo. So we went over to defend it, and there were so many Brotherhood Knights, Paladins, Scribes, basically the entire Brotherhood was here. And so I had to shut down the anti-air defenses to allow our vertibirds to get in. I also had to repair my armor mid-field, because these Brotherhood Knights and Paladins, they shredded all of my power armor. So I had to find like hammers and just different things with steel so I can actually repair my power armor. So after making my way through the rest of the initial like Brotherhood Knights, I got to the final area where I had to actually enter the facility. And again, so many Brotherhood Knights, at this point my armor had just degraded, so I got out of it, and then we had to kill Elder Maxon. So I killed Elder Maxon, and then I aborted the launch for the missile. So after that was all done, I talked to the general, and basically we just decided to blow up the Brotherhood Pridwin. So we watched the Pridwin get blown up and crash into the Boston airport. So after that was all done, there was only one thing left. It was to take out the Institute. So I met with the general, and we devised a plan of how we would take out the Institute. But first, I leveled up, getting another point in endurance, and then I spoke to the general, and basically the Institute, they wanted to try and have peace with us, but I said, you know what, that's not a good idea. So the Institute staged an attack on us, which we defended. Then I spoke with the general again, and we talked about the Institute and all that, but first, they told me to go to sleep. So I went to sleep, and then I woke up and the lieutenant told me, hey, the Institute, yeah, they're raiding the entire oil rig. So basically we had to get through, we went through the manufacturing place and had to clear out more synths because I had to find the general. So the general, I found him, he was all good, so I then repair all of the jammers. So these jammers, I had to repair them because they would block teleportation from the Institute so that all the synths would just stop teleporting to the oil rig. So I made sure to repair those, and then I made my way through the science wing, cleared it out, then I made my way through the next area and cleared that out. After that was all done, I met up with the general, and he devised the plan for attacking the Institute. So what we would do is get some people to basically airdrop in after we clear out the Institute, and we would blow up the door to enter the Institute. So I spoke with the lieutenant, and we hopped into our vertibirds, and then we made our way towards the Institute. It was a long flight, but we made our way there, and we just cleared out all of the synths. There were so many synths just up at the top of the CIT ruins, so we cleared all of them out. So it was pretty simple. After we cleared them out, the engineer airdropped in with the quartermaster, and basically they just started to plant some C4 charges, or basically just some regular explosives on the door. And then after that was done, we blew open the door, and then I hopped inside the tunnel to enter the Institute. After that was done, I leveled up, taking my final point into Scrounger, and then I made my way through the Institute, where there were multiple synths, like so many synths in there. So I made my way through all of the wings pretty easily, because, I mean, come on, I have a plasma rifle. I then go to the terminal to revert the lockdown, and then I head to the reactor room, where I clear out all the synths, and then I place the explosive charge, and then I talk to the captain, and basically after that, we're all done. I then get to the chief engineer, and I have to tell him that Sean was a synth. After that, we get teleported outside, where I'm faced with the detonator, where I open up the detonator, I press the button, and I explode the Institute, ending the run. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was pretty fun to make. I hope you like the Enclave more, because I just think that the Institute, doing the whole playthrough again, it's basically the same as the Railroad, just you're siding with the Institute instead. It's like one mission difference. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. Peace.